Peace and greetings. What's good? It's your girl Naya from the Metaphysical Mommy, and this is another Vlogmas video. Right back at ya. So, okay, let's talk about a couple of tarot myths. Actually, let's talk about one in particular, just so we could keep this short and sweet. Your deck has to be gifted to you. Now, so number one, the myth is not true. You're not going to get bad luck or nothing weird is going to happen to you if you purchase your own tarot deck. That is perfectly okay. There's so many out there on the market right now that I'm sure there is one for everybody. But it got me thinking this question. Is there wisdom in that myth? Right? Is there wisdom in that myth? Because if you've ever been gifted something before, like, for example, this ring that I have, this one, I'll show it to you. That was gifted to me by my grandmother, God rest, many moons ago. I don't even know where I could get another one like it. I don't even know what stone it is. If you know what stone that was, please share it in the comments. I'm for real. I've been trying to figure it out and I can't quite put my finger on it. It kind of changes colors too. Like it goes to this really minty green to a little bit of a darker, not as dark as like a dark emerald, but a darker shade of green. Anyways, a lot of people in the tarot community always discuss about how enriching tarot has been for their lives, things that they've been able to accomplish, their experiences, and how it's really opened the doors for a lot of things to come through, and I don't know, just it being an amazing experience and what have you. I think, and a lot of those people have purchased their own decks, which is fine. I think part of the reason that myth exists is, at least for back then, is reading tarot was very taboo, especially during just if you know the history, a lot of things that weren't mainstream religion were considered sinful and taboo. Okay, taboo is a better word for it. So in order to keep consumerism down, to keep it from getting into the wrong hands, because it's such a sacred tool, this myth was created that you have to be gifted a deck in order for it to really work for you, in order for you to get good readings. I heard another one about that you're supposed to steal a tarot deck in order for it to work for you too. I'm debunking that as well. Don't do that. That's not cool. Don't do that. That is totally not cool. But anyways, the original one about being gifted a deck, right? So you have to think about the place and times of where these myths were created. And, I had to sit there and ponder on it, like, well, why would they say this? It's also to protect your identity. You could always tell the truth and say you didn't actually purchase it. So somebody gave it to you. If you got caught with it, then maybe that could have been part of it. I'm not sure. But I think besides it being maybe a necessity for a certain period of time to maintain a certain pretense that was needed to kind of get by in the world, there's also something very special about a deck that has been gifted to you. Oh my God. Something very special about a deck that has been gifted to you. And because somebody thought about you, they thought about you when they saw this deck, they thought about you and thought that you might love this deck. And I think it's about, at least maybe nowadays, I don't know if this myth, like I've heard this myth being put out there, like people asking this myth, but what about if its true purpose is just to preserve the knowledge that it holds? Like, to basically say, you've been gifted this and I'm going to mentor you in how to read these and how to use these and what they mean and where they come from and all of that kind of stuff. I mean, of course, now we live in mega cyberspace, where information goes a mile a minute. What I find that happens a lot, that there's a much more of a consumerism occurring around tarot decks, which is fine. That's where we're at. But in order to minimize that, we should be able to read with the decks that we own. We should get to know them. We should have enough time to really work with those images and understand that. So I kind of feel like that old wives' tale or that rumor or that myth of having to be gifted a deck maybe has more wisdom in it than it originally, lends out. Like, again, you're not going to get bad luck or anything like that. I'm just kind of pondering and contemplating, like, what does that mean? Because this year, like I said, I've acquired quite a few decks. And I think that because I have it's like decision fission. Like, I have way too many choices. It's like that 7 of Cups. I have way too many choices that I get stuck. And I'm like, I don't even know which one I want to use. And have I really properly bonded with all the decks that I own? Should I pare it down? So I start asking myself all these extra questions, right? Like, yeah, I've purchased them, but is it about having a collection or is it about reading the cards? So I had to sit with myself and assess this. And I have some decks that I collect decks. Okay, that's fine. That's one facet of me. And then there's another facet of me that's the reader, right? The diviner, the writer, the artsy person. So there's my 3 facets, right? So as a collector, I could care less if they get used because I don't want them to get damaged. As a reader, I want to be able to read them. As a person who likes to do creative writing and things like of that sort as well, the artsy ones really call to me. I don't necessarily want to read with them, but I do want to utilize them. So I find myself in this conundrum when I hear the myth that a deck should be gifted to you, and thinking to myself, well, if I use the deck that, maybe I would have never been reading tarot because I would have never been gifted a deck. But if I was, let's just say the odds were better that we were getting gifted decks, that maybe it's about seeking the wisdom within that one pack of cards as a reflection, as a mirror into the self. And that is really what the gift is. The gift is having something to work as a psychological mirror, and you're not worried about acquiring more decks, but you're worried about working with that tool, and that tool being so sacred. So anyways, like I said, I'm just kind of contemplating here. What do you think? What do you think about that? Do you think that makes sense? Is that relevant? Does it not even matter anymore? I don't know. I like to ponder on things, so I'm gonna leave that there. And this has been another Vlogmas videos for your tarot loving enjoyment, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Much love, many blessings. Bye.